Hello. You might be wondering, why would you be wearing a football jersey? That question I would answer, well, it's Thanksgiving break, and when you think of Thanksgiving, you think turkey and stuff like that. And also, on Thanksgiving, they do a little game they like to call football. And I decided, well, I have like 35,000 football video games in my collection. Why don't I make a video review of them? I mean, I have a video camera. Not that that helps anyone. But anyway. Okay, we're going to start out really early on the Atari 2600. Yeah, Super Football for the Atari 2600. I don't actually own an Atari, but I have a collection on my PlayStation 2 called the Atari Anthology Collection, and it's got a collection of Atari games. One of them is Super Football, and it's not very good. Ultimately, this game isn't very bad, but it's not very good. There's a couple of main issues with it. First of all, when you're running with the ball, if you break down field and you get a long way ahead of the other players, they stay on the screen. The field moves, and it gives a decent illusion of the field moving. But it's very easy for the opposing team to catch up to you, even if you're 30, 40 yards away from them. Because also there's a smaller amount of players on the field, but you know, it's Atari. That's pretty obvious that they're not going to have 11 players on the field. They couldn't even do that, really, until the NES. Albeit the control does feel sort of stiff. I wasn't actually playing with the actual 8-directional joystick on Atari. I was playing with a PlayStation 2 analog controller. A stiffer control scheme would have been more common with something like this.
How do you move? Really?
Stick.
What buttons do you press?
X and X and X.
X.
I played this game with a friend, and that's where the actual footage comes from. I played it with a friend, and neither of us really knew what we were doing until one of us scored a touchdown, and I didn't even realize that I had scored the touchdown. So, yeah, it's a little bit confusing. But it's one of the first football games, so it's sort of like if you're gonna complain about how the first computer didn't have really good graphics, or something like that. Overall, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's above average on the Atari scale, but on today's standards more or less, you'd see it's pretty mediocre compared to what we have today. Alright, next up we're moving into the 1980s, late 1980s in fact, Tecmo Bowl on the Nintendo Entertainment System, released by a company known as Tecmo, who are known for the Ninja Gaiden series and pretty much nothing else. The game is really good, but there's still a couple flaws with it. Let's take a deeper look. It's a pretty simple game. You can see there's only 4 places to select on offense and defense. All the defensive plays are offensive plays, so how does that make sense? Well, there's a couple ways for that to make sense. On offense, you just pick the play, and it runs the play for you. You could hand it off to your running back, or throw the ball, or hand it off to your other running back, or hand it off to the receiver, or whatever. On defense, however, you just pick whichever play you think the offense will select. And if you pick the right one, they will completely destroy the offensive line, go and tackle the quarterback, and if he tries to throw the ball, he will be intercepted. Or if it's a running play, they will just completely go and cross the offensive line and tackle the running back. So, it's a pretty simple game once you think about it, and it's really easy to learn, and it's pretty easy to master as well. Throwing the ball is very simple. You just sit there and you press A to cycle through your receivers, press B to throw the ball to your receivers that you would picked. Yeah. Once they catch the ball, you can use a fun little glitch where you just run zigzags all across the field. If you were doing this in a real football game, you'd look like a complete and total idiot, as I will just demonstrate now. Yeah, sort of like that. Anyway, pretty much avoids dive tackles, and you get much longer yardage than if you just ran with the ball straight forward. So yeah. Also, another fun thing, with teams like the Bears, they have a play where the running back stays behind the line of scrimmage. If you go down to the 1 yard line and throw the ball to them, and the ball gets intercepted, it will count as as a touchdown for your team. Of course, if the other team intercepts the ball in your end zone, then that's a touchdown for them. But no, not in the World Tecmo Bowl. It's one of the funniest glitches I've ever seen. Overall, I do enjoy this game actually quite a bit, and lots of fun. If you want to buy it, it's available on the Wii Shop channel. Yes, it's actually on the Virtual Console for $5. This game had the NFL Players Association license, but not the actual license of the National Football League, which means that you will see these teams and cities and colors, but not like the nicknames. And on the Wii version, you won't see any of the players, obviously, because Electronic Arts has already eaten all that up, and none of those players that were on that game are even in the National Football League. Alright, anyway, this game's going to get 8 out of 10. It's a good game. It has some flaws, like any pass that's thrown to receiver that's covered will end up being an interception. That's not fun. There's no fumbles. Stuff like that. You can't down the ball in your own end zone. That's a problem. But still, it's a fun game. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, stay tuned for part 2 when we take a look at the sequel to Tecmo Bowl, and we take a look at one of the worst ideas ever for a sports game. Thank you for watching.